Spiritual Christianity, collected from the theological works of Emanuel Swedenborg, by Charles Augustus Tulk. Prefatory remarks to Chapter 14. Paragraph 176. The intelligent and attentive reader cannot fail, I should think, to be struck with the exceeding clearness which the author has displayed in unfolding a subject presenting difficulties of no ordinary kind, both from its novelty and from its requiring, for its right comprehension, the complete reversal of our ordinary modes of thinking. Who, before he became acquainted in some measure with this matchless system, could suppose, although he might have gained from other systems of spiritual philosophy, some faint and imperfect idea that the origin of all sensuous things was from within his mind? Who could have supposed that the divine influx, in the very act of creation, passed from the interior faculties into the exterior, and that their creation was continually being effected? Who, for a moment, ever doubted, at least among the ordinary class of thinkers, that all things existed, even as they appeared to exist? Who ever gave so a profound a definition of reality, and in its application to the natural world, made to it depend not upon its outward appearance, as is usually done, but upon the coincidence between our manner of viewing it and accounting for it, and its true constitution and manner of existence? As we advance, the more fully and clearly shall we perceive that the space and time of the natural world are, equally with the space and time of the spiritual world, the outbursts of the thought. And what is even of greater importance, we shall see the philosophic grounds, as distinguished from all empirical acquirements, of that system of correspondencies and representatives, which is at once a key to unlock the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, contained in the word of God, and also of that which, deeply considered, is but another aspect of the same glorious picture, the mysteries of the human mind, and the peculiar ends for which every human being is created. Chapter 14. And the title is, In the outward natural world, equally as in the representative state of the spiritual world, progressions through space are, in their first cause and origin, changes in the state of the interior faculties, space and time being to the natural man, as well as to spirits and angels, the outburst of the thought. Hence, the possibility of traversing in spirit the appearance of space, and of visiting other earths in the universe, which would be utterly impossible if natural space had an absolute externity independent of the mind. Reading from Arcana Celestia 9578. The Lord by angels conducted me to a certain earth in the universe, where I was permitted to see the earth itself. And from Arcana Celestia 9579. To be led to the different earth in the universe is not to be led or transferred thither as to the body, but as to the spirit. And the spirit is not led through spaces, but by variations in the state of interior life, which variations appear to the person whose state is changed, as if they were progressions through spaces. From Arcana Celestia 9580 and 9581. It is in the power of the Lord alone to lead the spirit by variations in the state of his interior faculties beyond his own world, and to cause those variations to have a successive progression, until there be an agreement or similitude of state with those to whom he is led. That this translation has been effected, and in this manner too, they who are in sensual and corporeal states of life, and who think from such states, could not be induced to believe. For with such a condition of the mind, they would not be able to understand how it were possible for there to be any progressions without spaces. And yet they who think from the sensual state of their spirit, let it only be but a little removed or withdrawn from the sensual state of the body, thus interiorly within themselves, may be induced to apprehend and believe it, since there is no space in the idea of their thought, nor yet time, but instead of them, such states of mind as give birth to spaces and times. From Arcana Celestia 9440. He who is acquainted with the mysteries of heaven may believe that it is not possible for a man to behold such distant earths and bring back any account of them from the experience of the senses. But let him know that the spaces and distances and the progressions connected with them, which appear in the natural world, are, in their first cause and origin, changes in the state of man's interior faculties, and that to angels and spirits they appear in agreement with those changes. The sensual man will not be able to see how it is possible for a man as to his spirit to be so transferred, for such a man, as to his thoughts, is in space and time, and by them he measures his progressions. From Arcana Celestia 9967. I was led by the Lord to an earth in the universe, which is at a great representative distance from our earth than the one formerly mentioned. I was permitted to know this from 2 days having been occupied, while as to my spirit, I was being conducted thither. Remoteness in the other life is not from distance of place, but from difference of state, which appears there like distance of place. So that from the length of the journey thither, which took up 2 days, I was enabled to conclude that the state of their interior faculties, which is the state of their affections and the thoughts produced from them, differed greatly from those of the spirits of our earth. In consequence of being led thither as to my spirit by changes in the state of my interior faculties, I had the opportunity afforded me of noting those successive changes before I arrived. And from Arcana Celestia 10734. I was led to an earth, which is in the universe beyond our solar system, and this was affected by changes in the state of my mind, or, in other words, by changes as to the state of my spirit. For, as it has been occasionally observed, there are no other means of conducting the spirit from place to place, but by changes in the state of its interior faculties, which changes appear just as if they were progressions or journeys from place to place. Moving back to Tulk's commentaries, we move into paragraph 177. The doctrines for spiritual Christianity teach that all the finite forms of conscious life are ever deriving their existence from the one infinite God, and that the same divine power that calls them forth into being is, by his intimate presence, forever sustaining them in existence. This is one among the primary truths on which spiritual Christianity rests. As God is not in the hypothetical space of the natural man, he is not at any distance from the objects of his divine love. For love, even with respect to finite beings, is a conjunctive presence of their minds, and the divine love is identical with the most entire and intimate presence. But though his presence is full and complete with every finite mind as the very ground of its being, and as the only one source of love and thought, as well as of sensation, in no respect does the recipient form of mind partake of the perfection of its divine cause. In every respect it is distinct and even different from that cause. It is distinct as to consciousness, for finite consciousness being identified with the progressions of thought and love, which progression imparts a sense of time, there can be no such imperfection as a progression of life in the divine consciousness. Neither can there be the sensation of space to him, for the sensation of space or distance from ourselves is the representative effect of a finite or imperfect love, and his love is infinite or perfect. It is this finite or imperfect love and thought that gives a sense of distance and progression in a spatial and temporal world around and distinct from the sentient being. In both these conditions, there is an essential difference between the infinite and the finite, between him who imparts existence and those who are its recipients. But it belongs to that progressive consciousness, which is a law of human existence, that man should advance by the regeneration of his mind towards higher states of will, intellect, and sensation, and that by the change called death he should pass into distinct states of love and thought, and of corresponding sensation, so discriminated from his former state as to preclude the possibility, under ordinary states of the mind, of any direct communication between spiritual and natural beings. But the law of existence, whether the life be celestial, spiritual, or natural, is nevertheless but one law. However different it may appear when viewed by a natural man, who in the twilight condition of his mind thinks that all things are constituted even as they appear to be, and a spiritual man. The first step towards a reversal of this, the original impression, is to know what the difference consists between the spiritual world and the supposed natural world. That spiritual beings are forms receptive, each one in a peculiar manner to himself, of the divine life of love and wisdom, and that the forms and states of those minds are imaged in the representative faculties of sense by the objects of sensations. This may be seen, or at least its possibility admitted, long before the constitution of the natural world can be understood. Perhaps the mind is not sufficiently advanced, and the man cannot think of his world as spiritual beings are accustomed to think of theirs, and so he will continue to dream of this world as one of extraneous space and time, although in relation to heavenly life he may be able to perceive the impossibility of a spaceless and timeless God being omnipresent in the one and co-enduring with the other. Paragraph 178. But with him who has got thus far, such an incongruity cannot remain. Either the law of spiritual life is right, or the supposed law of natural life, but they cannot both be true, and God essentially be one. He may indeed reveal himself, and he actually did reveal himself, by the appearance of space and time, to those who thought in space and time. He appeared, and he still appears as a finite natural being, and even as nothing more than a subtle element to those who think naturally and sensually. He appeared, and to many he still appears, as if he were a son distinct from his father. But when we know the causes of these appearances, that they are not in him, the immutable and the perfect, but in man, the mutable and imperfect, and especially when we awaken to the perception that, though minds may differ, creation in both worlds must be the same, then these difficulties will vanish, along with every other difficulty of a similar kind which bears down the natural mind in its strugglings after truth.